Most people grow up hearing the same idea about money. If you work hard enough, stay disciplined, and do everything correctly, financial success will eventually follow. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable, because hard work does matter. Discipline matters. Consistency matters. But here's the problem. There are millions of people working incredibly hard right now. People waking up early, working long hours, doing everything they were told to do, and still struggling financially, still stressed, still stuck in cycles they can't seem to escape. And at the same time, there are other people who seem to move forward financially with far less effort. They make decisions faster. They recover from setbacks more easily. They seem more comfortable around money. And when you look at that difference long enough, you start asking yourself a difficult question. If hard work alone creates wealth, why are so many hardworking people still financially trapped? That question makes people uncomfortable because it challenges one of the most repeated beliefs about money, the belief that effort automatically leads to financial growth. But the truth is more complicated than that, because money doesn't respond only to effort. It responds to structure, to patterns, to positioning, to the way a person operates over time. And this is the biggest lie about making money, the idea that financial success is mainly about how hard you work, when in reality, it's much more connected to how you think, how you decide, how you manage risk, how you respond to opportunities, and whether your internal patterns support growth or quietly block it. Most people never hear this explained clearly. Instead, they're told to push harder, stay motivated, keep grinding, and eventually things will work out. But what often happens instead is that people become trapped in a cycle of effort without real expansion. They stay busy, exhausted even, but financially, their situation barely changes, because being productive is not the same as creating leverage. And leverage is what changes financial reality. This is where most people get stuck. They focus all their energy on increasing effort, without realizing that effort has limits. There are only so many hours you can work, only so much pressure you can handle, only so much energy your body and mind can sustain before burnout starts to appear. And when your entire financial strategy depends on constant effort, your life becomes fragile, because the moment your energy drops, your progress slows down too. That's why so many people feel like they can never relax around money, because if they stop pushing, everything feels like it could collapse. And over time, that creates a deeper problem. Money becomes associated with pressure, stress, survival, constant effort. And once that association becomes strong enough, it starts shaping behavior automatically. You stop thinking about money as something that can create freedom, and start experiencing it as something that constantly demands energy from you. And this changes the way you operate more than most people realize, because your relationship with money is not just practical, it's emotional, psychological, behavioral. It affects how you react to opportunities, how much risk feels acceptable, how confident you feel making decisions, how comfortable you are receiving more responsibility or visibility. And most importantly, it affects what level of financial reality feels normal to you. Every person operates within a certain internal financial range, level where things feel familiar and manageable. Within that range, your behavior feels automatic. You know how to function there. You know what to expect. But when life starts pushing you outside of that range, something interesting happens. You begin to feel discomfort. Not necessarily because something is wrong, but because it's unfamiliar, and unfamiliar things activate uncertainty. For example, someone who has spent years struggling financially might consciously want more money, but unconsciously associate wealth with pressure, risk, expectation, or instability. So when real opportunities appear, they hesitate, they overthink, they delay action, or they sabotage momentum in subtle ways, not intentionally, but automatically. because their system is trying to return them to what feels familiar. This is why financial progress often feels temporary for so many people. They move forward for a while, then fall back. They increase their income, then increase their expenses. They create momentum, then interrupt it with inconsistent decisions. And after repeating this cycle enough times, they start believing something external is blocking them. Bad luck, the economy, other people, and yes, external factors matter. But they are rarely the full explanation, because two people can face similar external conditions and still produce completely different outcomes. One adapts, the other freezes. One learns from setbacks, the other becomes emotionally overwhelmed by them. One sees opportunities under pressure, the other sees only risk. And those differences are not random. They come from internal patterns. This is the part most financial advice ignores. Money is not just about strategy. It's about regulation. Your nervous system plays a huge role in your financial behavior, because money represents survival, security, control, status, freedom. And your body responds to those meanings automatically. If your system associates financial growth with danger or instability, then growth itself can feel threatening, even if consciously you want it. And when something feels threatening, your system resists it, not dramatically, but subtly, through hesitation, avoidance, inconsistency, through choosing what feels safe instead of what creates expansion. And this is why the work harder mentality often fails, because it tries to overpower patterns instead of understanding them, treats financial growth like a pure discipline problem, when often it's a calibration problem. People are trying to create external results that their internal system is not prepared to sustain, so even when success arrives, they struggle to hold on to it. That's why some people can suddenly make more money and still remain financially unstable, because income alone does not change patterns. And without changing patterns, the same behaviors continue producing the same outcomes, just at a different scale. Someone who avoids financial responsibility with little money will often avoid it with more money too. Someone who uses spending to regulate stress will usually continue doing that regardless of income level. Someone who fears visibility will still hesitate when opportunities require stepping forward. This is why wealth is not only about earning, it's about capacity. Your capacity to manage pressure, to think clearly under uncertainty, to make aligned decisions consistently, to sustain growth without self-disruption. And capacity is built differently than most people think, not through endless force, but through awareness and repetition. You begin by noticing patterns, how you react when money enters your life, how you behave when things start improving, how you respond when pressure appears, because hidden inside those reactions is the structure shaping your financial reality. For example, some people unconsciously create financial chaos because chaos feels familiar, peace feels unfamiliar, stability feels strange. So even when things improve, they create unnecessary urgency, unnecessary spending, unnecessary problems, not because they want to fail, but because their system is trying to recreate what feels emotionally normal. And unless those patterns become visible, they continue automatically. This is why information alone rarely changes people. Most people already know basic financial advice. Save more, spend less, invest consistently, avoid unnecessary debt. The problem is usually not information. The problem is behavior under emotion, because emotion overrides logic all the time, especially around money. That's why someone can know exactly what they should do and still not do it consistently. Their internal patterns are stronger than their intellectual understanding. And this is also why some people feel exhausted all the time around money, because they are fighting themselves internally. Part of them wants growth, another part fears, part of them wants change, another part wants familiarity. and that internal conflict drains energy constantly. The solution is not becoming emotionless. The solution is becoming aware of the patterns driving your decisions, aware of the reactions that keep repeating, aware of the moments where you choose temporary comfort over long-term alignment. Because once you notice a pattern clearly, you interrupt its automatic power. You create space between impulse and action. And in that space, something important happens. Choice becomes possible. Not perfect choice, not instant transformation, but conscious choice. And repeated conscious choices slowly reshape your internal baseline. What once felt uncomfortable starts becoming manageable. What once felt risky starts feeling normal. What once felt impossible starts feeling accessible. And this is how financial identity changes. Not through motivation alone, not through affirmations alone, but through consistent behavioral shifts repeated long enough for your system to adapt. This is what most people misunderstand about wealth. They think rich people simply know secrets. But often, what's really different is their calibration, their level of comfort with uncertainty, their relationship with money, their ability to sustain pressure without collapsing emotionally, their willingness to think long-term instead of reacting emotionally in the moment. And these traits shape behavior every single day, which then shapes financial outcomes over and over again. That's why the biggest lie about making money is the idea that effort alone determines results, because effort without alignment creates exhaustion. Effort without strategy creates stagnation. Effort without internal stability creates cycles. Real financial growth happens when your actions, your patterns, your decisions, and your internal state begin moving in the same direction. That's when progress stops feeling temporary. That's when momentum becomes sustainable. That's when money stops feeling like something you constantly chase and starts becoming something you can actually hold. Because in the end, wealth is not only about getting more, it's about becoming someone capable of sustaining more without returning to old patterns. And that changes everything. If this changed the way you think about money, subscribe to the channel, because in the next videos we're going to break down these hidden financial patterns even further so you can start recognizing them in your own life and understand how to shift them step by step. And if you want to go deeper into this right now, there's something linked in the description and in the pinned comment that expands on what we talked about today and helps you understand how these internal patterns quietly shape your financial reality over time. Take a look when you're ready, and I'll see you in the next video.